Hello, Internet. I'm Parsha Becky, and we are back for another week of Parsha. As you know, we are currently in the middle of reading the fifth book of Torah, the book of Devarim. I'm sure you remember Devarim means things or words or speeches, because the whole book of Devarim is made up of speeches about things that Moshe thinks we need to know before we go into the land of Israel. Some weeks, including this week, we actually squish two parshas together because we have more parshas than we have weeks in the year. So we squish two parshas together in order to be able to read the entire Torah in 1 year, starting and ending on Simchat Torah. So this week's double parsha is known as Nitzavim-Vayelech. First part of the parsha is Nitzavim. Nitzavim means standing. And the parsha is called Nitzavim because at the start of the parsha, Moshe tells all the Jewish people who are gathered there, he says, you are all Nitzavim, you are all standing in front of Hashem right now to enter into a special brit, a special agreement between you and Hashem. And Moshe says it's not just the people who are here, who are Nitzavim, who are standing in this agreement, but even the people who are not here are standing here for part of this agreement. What can he possibly mean? The people who are not here are standing here? So of course Moshe means even the people who are not yet born. So you and I were not born yet at the time of the Parsha back in Torah times when Moshe says this. We weren't really physically there. But we are among the Jewish people who were not there, who are not born yet. So great news, you are in this week's Parsha. We all are, because we are all standing there as part of that brit, as Moshe specifically includes even the people who are not yet born. And Moshe says part of this agreement will be Hashem's people, and Hashem will be our God. We will follow Hashem's rules and make good choices, and Hashem will take care of us. And Moshe reminds the people not to pray to idols, not to pray to anything else, not to do what the other nations who don't believe in Hashem do, because if we make those bad choices, Hashem will punish us very severely. And Moshe says, don't think you can sneak around and someone's maybe you'll try to do something that you're not supposed to do, but you think it's all right because you won't get caught because nobody sees. Well, guess what? Even if no human being can see you, you know who always sees you? Hashem sees. Hashem sees even things that nobody else can see. So you can't keep secrets from Hashem. And Moshe says, but good news, it's going to be easy to make good choices and to follow the Torah, because you know what? You know where the Torah isn't? The Torah isn't up in the sky. We don't need to take an airplane or a spaceship and go up into outer space to find the Torah and bring it back down to planet Earth so that we can keep the Torah and learn it. And the Torah isn't all the way across the world. We don't need to take an airplane or a boat all the way around the world and go on a treasure hunt and find the Torah and dig it up and take it home so we can learn the Torah and follow it. No, you know where the Torah is? It's right here. The Torah is in our hearts and in our brains. And when we talk about Torah, it's in our mouths. And when you listen to the Torah, it's in your ears. The Torah is with us all the time. The Torah is always super close to us. So it will be easy for us to find the Torah and read it and learn it so that we can make choices that the Torah suggests and make good choices. And Moshe says, we can do it. It's very possible. It's not too hard for us. But nobody can make your choices but you. We are in charge of our own bodies. We are in charge of our own choices. And we have the choice of either making good choices and having good things happen to us, or making bad choices and being punished. And nobody's going to force us either way. Even Hashem is not going to make those choices for us. But Hashem wants to reward us, and Hashem wants to give us good things. So Hashem is asking us to please make good choices. The parsha continues with Parshat Vayelech, which means he walked. And it's called that because at the start of Vayelech, Moshe has finished his speech from Nitzavim, and now he walks Vayelech over to the Jewish people. He says, listen, up until now, all my speeches were messages from Hashem, but now I want to tell you something that's just from me. Moshe says, listen, I'm 120 years old. That's kind of old. And I am not going to go with you into the land of Israel. I'm not going with, but you know who is going with you? Hashem. Hashem will be going with you, and you will have a new leader, my assistant Yehoshua. So don't be scared, because Hashem will help you. Hashem will protect you. And I've watched Yehoshua learn how to be a great leader. He's going to do a great job. He's going to take care of you too. And Moshe turns to Yehoshua and he says, Yehoshua, don't be scared. Hashem will be with you. Hashem will help you. Be brave. Be strong. And I've watched you learn how to be a leader, and you're going to do a great job leading the people into Israel. And Moshe writes down the entire Torah, and he hands it to the Kohanim. He says, I need you guys to keep this Torah somewhere safe. And there's a special place where we keep the Torah. If you've seen in Shul, you'll know we always keep the Torah in the Aron Kodesh. And we actually get that from in the Mishkan. There was also an Aron Kodesh for keeping the Torah. So now Moshe tells the Kohanim to put the Torah into the Aron Kodesh. And Moshe says, as he gives it to them, he says, guess what? We've got a new rule. I know the Torah has a lot of rules and laws and mitzvahs, and there's one more we're going to learn that actually connects to this Torah. Moshe says every 7 years. Now when we get back around to the book of Vayikra, we're going to learn that the 7th year, every 7 years, is called Shemitah, and there's a whole set of interesting laws that we follow in the Shemitah year. But now we're learning one more. We're going to learn those when we get there, but this one we're learning now. Every 7 years in the Shemitah year, on the holiday of Sukkot, every single member of the Jewish people, the grown-ups, the kids, the babies, we are all going to gather at the Beit HaMikdash, at our temple in Yerushalayim, and we are going to hear the entire Torah read out loud. Now, these days, we don't have a Beit HaMikdash anymore, so we can't go there. We can't go to a place that doesn't exist. And anyway, we are spread out all over the world. It wouldn't be so easy to all gather together in one spot. And hearing the whole Torah read out loud would take hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours. But we still keep this mitzvah in our own way. So what we do is, instead of waiting every 7 years, every year, right after Sukkot, when this would happen on Sukkot, so right after Sukkot, on the holiday of Simchat Torah, we start reading the Torah. And we split it up so we don't have to stay there for hours. We split it up over the whole year. And by the end of the year, every member of the Jewish people has read part of the Torah, has read the entire Torah. We read all the same parts at the same time, even though we're all in different parts of the world. Every member of the Jewish people is reading the same parsha on the same week. And it's what we're doing right now. By learning parsha, we are keeping this mitzvah in our own way today. So after Moshe teaches this rule, Hashem calls Moshe and Yoshua over. Hashem says, Moshe, I need to tell you one more thing, and Yoshua, you should hear this too, because you're going to be the next leader. Hashem says, Moshe, even though you gave them all these reminders, I need to give you a warning, because Hashem knows the future. Hashem says, I know the future, and in the future, the Jewish people, they're going to break the rules, and they're going to make bad choices, and they're going to do bad things, and they're going to ignore Hashem, they're going to pray to idols, and they're going to get punished for it. But Hashem says, I'm going to teach you a poem, and if you write this poem down and teach it to the Jewish people, then the poem will be a reminder, and it will help them remember to make good choices for longer. So Hashem teaches Moshe the poem, and Moshe writes the poem down, and he teaches it to the Jewish people. And you're going to have to stay tuned for our next parsha to find out about the poem, which is not going to be next week, because next week is Rosh Hashanah on Shabbat. Instead of reading a parsha, we're going to read special Torah readings that connect to Rosh Hashanah. So in 2 weeks, stay tuned for our next parsha, where we will hear all about this poem that we just found out about. Shabbat Shalom.